All right, everyone, welcome back into another Prize Picks and Underdogs props video. We're going to be touching on the top prop bets for this Monday night matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. But first, as always, a quick recap from yesterday. So good news, bad news, guys, with yesterday. The bad news is it was a bad day. The good news is yesterday was a bad day. And I mentioned that typically speaking, we're going to have days like that. It's just due to happen. And it's just an odds thing. Like typically speaking, the next slate is going to be a good slate. And all in all, the previous slate for NFL wise specifically, we're coming in off of a 5 out of 6 slip, nearly a 6 for 6 slip. So it does make sense. It's frustrating that it happens, but all in all, we probably are getting some pretty good prop bets for today. Just want to talk through these two that missed. I mean, this was super frustrating, very tilting that these two had their best games in the receiving department last week. I get why, the average sportsbook line that data was suggesting the under there. All in all, I would say it was mostly correct, assuming that they weren't going to be able to rush the football. I get why the data wasn't accounting for the receiving game being that much. And then same thing for Okonkwo, where I was kind of mentioning, I do think that Will Levis could have a better day passing, just because Carolina's bad at stopping the run, so they're going to be able to set up their play action game a little bit more. So all in all, not too shocking there. I felt like I talked through that one. All in all, like Evan Ingram as well. Like I don't think anyone's felt like that was a bad play, especially given that matchup. And then this was the one where it's just like, oh, it's going to happen. So is what it is. We look forward to the slate that we have today. And hopefully you guys watched my NBA video, because there was a stack for the Portland-Milwaukee game that really saved my night. Again, it was a weird one where the board, I didn't exactly love what the board was saying, some props, so I recommended going against that. It ended up working out. Now, we know that that's typically not going to work. Yesterday was a weird day where, I didn't exactly agree with a lot of the props that we were getting. Hopefully today's going to be a little bit better, and just based off of what I already saw, it is seeming like it's going to be a better day in terms of that. It's never good to your mind's telling you one thing, the day is telling you another thing. It's never a good thing, and you should always kind of default to the data. Looking at today's game though, we got the Bears versus Vikings. It is a 3-point spread, 43.5 or so for the average over and under, so a decent game there. This is projected to stay close. Looking at the injury report for the Chicago Bears, Foreman is going to be out. I think that's a big piece of news, because now we're going to see a lot of Roschon Johnson. We're going to see a lot of Khalil Herbert. Now Herbert's definitely the more dynamic back. Johnson's a little bit worse version of Foreman as a back. Probably the issue I think Johnson has is he wants to be more of the Khalil Herbert type when he's really just more of a bruiser. All in all though, one of the best prop bets I think we're getting on the slate is actually going to be with Roschon Johnson. And then we're looking at the Vikings. Jefferson's still out. Kirk Cousins obviously still out. The biggest takeaway that I have for the Vikings, and really the toughest part about this slate, is what are we expecting for the snaps for Madison and also Ty Chandler? I felt like this is what I was expecting, was Ty Chandler to get around 30 to 40% of the snaps like Cam Akers had been doing. And so that's going to be my expectation for this game as well. The issue is that I think everyone would say Ty Chandler did look better. Now, again, I don't know if that's always fair. The backup running back, that type of backup running back, is almost meant to look better given the situations that they're going to be in. But all in all, he might have played himself into slightly more snaps. We did see TJ Hawkinson get his snaps limited a little bit as well. It's the tail end of the season. He's starting to get banged up. Hasn't missed a game yet. The hits are starting to wear and tear on him, especially the hits from Dobbs over the last couple of games where he's been peppering him heavily and kind of leaning him out to get, a few kind of tough hits. Then from there, we are still seeing Powell playing about 60% of the snaps. That's encouraging. And I say it that way because we did see KJ Osborne come back and instantly play 95% of the snaps, as did Addison. So that's a good thing. Then real quickly, let's take a peek at the Bears snaps. For the Bears, my biggest movers are going to be is Cole Kmet going to play 90% of the snaps, or is he going to play about the 80 or so? And that might just come down to them maybe trying to rush the football a little bit more with Justin Fields. And for what it's worth, guys, Justin Fields played his best game, I think, of his NFL career last week. Now, are we expecting that again? Probably not. I mean, it was his best game of his career thus far, in terms of playing the quarterback position, in a way that's going to lead to long-term success. The throws he was making were good throws. They weren't to wide open receivers. They were throws that are difficult to make, and he was making them. He looked really good. That was kind of something I mentioned might happen. Kind of in a weird way, I felt like Banchit showing him how to run kind of the offense the way the coaching staff wants would benefit Fields, and then you just tack on his natural playmaking ability. I thought that would just kind of flip a switch, and it did work out for 1 week. See if that happens again. I do want to point out the snaps here, though, for Mooney. And for some reason, Justin Fields struggles to get him the football. And I think we might see St. Brown, who is a pretty good pass blocker. He might get some more work in this game. So definitely something to monitor there. And then, yes, Foreman is going to be out in this game. I think we're going to see Johnson get about 30 to 40% of the snaps. And then I think we're going to expect Khalil Herbert to get about 60% of the snaps. He's their best running back. It makes sense. Tyler Scott's going to mix in there a little bit. But I think we're going to see St. Brown probably play about 50 or so percent of the snaps in this game. I bring that up because Johnson and St. Brown are going to be two of the prop bets that I think I like the most. And so, yes, the two prop bets that we're getting where we are currently getting the best edge is going to be Roschon Johnson for over 6.5 receiving yards and also St. Brown for over 7.5. Let's touch on both of those to start out with. And so let's start out with Johnson. So I want to take a peek at Foreman's production. So was he involved in the receiving game too much? No, he really wasn't, especially while Khalil Herbert was out. Like we saw a few games in there where, sure, he was getting a few targets, but all in all, not a big takeaway with him being out. That being said, they have sort of been trying to use Johnson in the passing game, and just him getting a few more snaps, I think should lead to him getting a little bit of production in this passing game. All in all, though, Khalil Herbert should be the passing down back. Like we are going to see him probably get around 4 targets in this game in the passing game. And all in all, it wouldn't be shocking to see him get 70% of the snaps. Like he just seems that much better than Johnson. So it is a little bit risky. Like we're banking on Johnson probably getting 2 targets, getting 1 reception for 7 yards. Could it happen? Yes. And do I think it will happen? Yes. But is it like a lock and load prop bet? Probably not. I would say I probably like this prop bet a little bit better for St. Brown for over his fantasy score or for over his receiving yards. And that's simply because it's a low line. Like he should be able to get there in 1 catch. And he is someone that I think Justin Fields just trusts. And so if we look at his game log here, he hasn't played much, right? But if we look at the 2 games in which he's played about 50% of the snaps, which I do think he's going to get, he has gotten the overs in both of those games. Now, the issue that we have is probably not going to be a pass-heavy offense in general. And so again, you're really banking on 1 target going for around 10 yards here. That's the concern. It's a low volume play for both. And then we continue on with the rest of the Chicago Bears props that we're getting. All in all, probably all of them are a little bit too thin. Khalil Herbert for under 14.5 rush attempts is one that's casually popping up. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. It's really just a game script dependent type thing. If the game stays close like Vegas thinks it's going to, I probably would say we can favor the over, but that's a thin one, I will admit. And then looking at Justin Fields, we saw pass completions was an okay one at about 17.5, projected to get 16. Like we could probably bet in the under there as well. He's going to have his production in the rushing game, I think. We saw a lot of design rushes go his way, which then led to him being able to pass the ball pretty well. And it was just his decision making last week that I was, pretty impressed with as well. From there, all the other ones that we're getting are basically about a 50-50 split. And so all in all, I probably don't want to touch the rest of those ones. We'll say Cole Kmet though on Underdog where it's set at 36.5. I'm okay with betting the over there. We see the average sportsbook line has it set at 38.3. Projection data has it at 38 as well. PrizePicks has it set at 37.5. Like that is a seemingly small edge, but it's a good enough edge for me to like want to go in on. And it's crazy, like the rush attempts props that we're going to get for like Justin Fields and Joshua Dobbs, 2 of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league, maybe the 2 best. 9.5. Like I don't know, I probably do like the over there, but again, that probably feels like we're forcing it. So let's go ahead and take a peek at Minnesota. And so for Minnesota, again, like we're not probably getting that many good prop bets here just yet. Maybe we'll get some fantasy score props that pop, but right now not that many good ones. And so for Joshua Dobbs at 6.5, we are seeing the under rush attempts is seemingly the good bet. Now we have seen him rush over that in every game thus far, and I kind of like the over there as well. And so this is the issue that I've been having lately. It's that like probably what would be my favorite bets, the data is telling us the opposite. We saw this yesterday with that kind of Tennessee game where I was pretty much saying like I wouldn't be surprised if the exact opposite happens because that's kind of how I expect the game to go. I mentioned that with the Bucks game that I mentioned stacking NBA wise. That's kind of how I feel about this prop bet, and I just hate that the data is telling us to bet the under. So all in all, probably just one that we should stay away from, or I will be staying away from because I see it happening in another way. To me, this is a better bet that we would get on one of the sports. From there, Ty Chandler for over 1.5 receptions. Again, if he's going to get more work, I don't mind this one. Or if he even sees the same amount of work that he had been getting, I don't mind that one. And I do want to just pull up Cam Akers, guys. He had been someone that gained around 3 to 2 receptions, at least 1 with his time with the Vikings. That's encouraging. Then we look at Ty Chandler, 4 receptions in that last game. I think that was more of a Denver thing. But we look at it on the season, the Bears are giving up a lot of receptions to opposing running backs thus far this season. So I do think that there could be something there. So all in all, does it feel a little bit too thin? Yes. But is this a single game slate where it's going to be much more difficult to find, really good prop bets? Yes. And so for now, that's probably the best one that I'm going to be going with here. Josh Dobbs completions, I don't want to touch that. They bumped it up to 22 because it was heavily favored to get the over at 25 or 21.5. Maybe if Underdog comes out with that line at 21.5, you can bet the over there. I don't really know what to do with Alexander Madison. I probably like the over bet here on Underdog at 11.5. That's probably my favorite bet there. And so let's actually just go and take a peek at the prop bets that we're getting for this game on Underdog. And so yes, whether you agree with these two or not, that's going to be up to you guys. But then we are getting some pretty good EV bets, it would seem. Okay, the average sportsbook line is favoring the over receiving yards for TJ Hawkinson at 63 or so. Underdog has the line set at 60.5. We can see PrizePicks has the line set at 63.5. That's a 3-yard difference. That might not seem like much, but it really is. And then again, yeah, Alexander Madison at 11.5 rush attempts on Underdog. That's going to be the bet to roll with tonight. And so that's probably the best prop bet, and really the only prop bet that I really want to be targeting for Underdog is that Madison over 11.5 rush attempts, because that's a very good EV bet. If you want to pair it up with any of these for NBA, by all means, go for it. It's tough. I'm going to give you guys a bet of the day for this slate. It does feel a little bit too thin. If you guys don't want to use this, by all means, I'm kind of giving you guys the bet of the day simply because I didn't give you guys one Sunday night, which ended up being correct. I would say that game was a little bit strange. And then really, I might use this prop bet for NHL. Guys, for some reason, Mondays are typically just tight boards, but this is like the best other bet that we have. The projection data would have it set at 3. The average sportsbook line is heavily favoring the over currently. And I say currently, that is something that can change throughout the day, especially in hockey. We do see that. But right now, I feel like this does give us a good chance at having a push. One of my favorite individual bets like this yesterday was Shahid for over targets at 5. He ends up getting injured for that to be a push and a DNP. That was tilting. But all in all, I think that this is going to give us a good chance at a push as well. And I do want to mention, I do find it weird that we're getting Khalil Herbert at 10.5 receiving yards, seemingly the better of the two receiving or pass catching backs, and the data doesn't like the over there. I find that to be strange. So like, I don't know. It's just a weird day in terms of some of the props that we're getting. So we'll be going with Johnson for over receiving yards. That's just what the day is saying is the best. So I'm going to go with that. So guys, I feel like my job with what I do here is to set the proper expectations for each and every slate. And I feel like I've done that. I know a lot of people will just jump to the end and not listen to the full video. This is an extremely tight slate. Honestly, if it wasn't a Monday night game, I might not be using these, full disclosure. Now, I did use St. Brown earlier on this week. I feel like that's a good one. I'm okay with Roshan Johnson. I just don't like the fact that we're betting on like the 3 best bets that we're getting are going to be backups that, like, best case scenario, St. Brown plays 55% of the snaps. Best case scenario for these two is that they play like 45% of the snaps, obviously without someone getting injured and what. That's the concern. And then this one, all in all, like, I like it. Probably just going to be a push. So it's a very tight day. We typically do say that on Mondays. Just want to bring that up. We're not getting any sort of like kicking props just yet or tackles and assist props. Yesterday, the tackles and assist props were actually pretty darn great. So hopefully we get some of those popping up today as well. That's going to be all for today's video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. Good luck today. Feeling like we should bounce back today. At the same time, I don't love the props that we are getting. It is a tighter board. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.